Hey y'all, and welcome to the PreMed Voice, the podcast where your voice is heard. I'm your host, Peyton Smith, and today we have Megan Nelson talking to us about some of the struggles we feel as pre-med students and kind of some of the stuff she does to deal with them or move past them. So without further ado, here is Megan Nelson.
Turn up, let's go. Turn up, let's go. PreMed Voice.
Welcome to the show, Megan.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I want to start with Megan, you just telling us a little bit about yourself, where you go to school, all that kind of fun stuff.
Sure. So I'm actually a postbac student. I'm doing my master's at Southern New Hampshire University online in psychology. I got my bachelor's degree in natural sciences here at the University of Alaska Anchorage. And I'm just waiting for the next cycle to apply.
Okay, awesome. Well, I know that you did apply in the last cycle, and it maybe didn't go as planned. Can you talk a little bit about what happened with that?
Sure. So I did apply last cycle. It was a little rushed. I graduated in May and tried to apply right away, and I knew in the back of my head that I wasn't going to get in. But I was like, if I don't apply right now, I'm going to sit on this and just wait. And then I'm going to wait it out forever because I'm never actually going to be ready. So I kind of rush applied, had a pretty good committee review, a pretty good set of letters of recommendation, but I knew my GPA was lower. I started college right after high school and it did not go well.
Yeah.
So my GPA was definitely lower. My MCAT, I actually took it twice and I took it back to back, which was a terrible idea. I did improve my score, so that was good, but not to the point where I felt comfortable, but I knew if I didn't take the chance to start applying now that I was going to sit on it forever.
Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, you didn't get in. So, that's, for me, I know that would be very tough for me. And I listened to this guy's named Brian Buffini. He's a personal growth guy. And he always talks about, taking your disappointment, and you have two options with that. You can turn it into discouragement or fuel. So I know that you've turned it into fuel. How have you done that? What is your mindset when, you're getting those rejections, and, how do you move past that and keep going towards your dreams?
So there was only, so I got quite a few rejections off the bat, and I was like, okay, I can still do this. I can still do this. I can still make it through. I can still get it on my first try. Even though in the back of my head, I was like, definitely like, nope, you're not getting in. Just take it with a grain of salt, learn from this, and keep moving forward. And the one rejection that really hit home was actually a DO school, PNW. They have a part of a pre-med group here in Anchorage called AMSA.
Mm-hmm.
And they came and talked to us multiple times, and I've talked to the director, and I've had full conversations like, hey, my GPA is not that great. My MCAT score was okay. What do you think? And he was like, still apply, still try, da-da-da. So when I got that rejection, that was the rejection that really was like, okay, yeah, you're not getting in this round. So I actually listened to a podcast, Jake Thompson. It's more of a workout podcast. It's called Compete Every Day. But he talks a lot about taking your failures and turning them into fuel. And so while I was getting rejected, I was emailing or calling or writing letters back to these schools. And I'm like, hey, can you tell me moving forward, where did I go wrong? Was it my personal statement? Was it my letters of recommendation? Was it my GPA? Was it my MCAT? Even though I knew what it was, I still wanted some confirmation so I knew where to put all my focus.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, kind of leading into that, if you could go back, obviously you would want to change your grades, but is there anything else that you would go back and change?
If I could go back, I would probably change definitely my grades. I would have paid more attention and not gotten so many Fs. University of Alaska Anchorage is a pretty small school. And unfortunately, they get rid of classes rather quickly. So you
Yeah.
have like maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years to take a class, and then it's gone, just like disappears. They get rid of it. And so I took a bunch of classes as a freshman, didn't pass, didn't go back to school. I actually ended up moving to North Carolina and going to school down there for a while. And when I came back, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna redo this. I'm gonna get my GPA up. I'm gonna commit to this. I'm gonna make this real.
Yeah.
I went back and I was like, hey, what can I do about these classes? And they're like, oh, we got rid of them. You can do nothing about them. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm just gonna deal with those, and we're gonna do better from now on.
Yeah. Wow, that's tough. I think it's just important for our listeners, for all of you guys out there that, you may not get the opportunity, you may not have the funding to retake classes. So it's so important that you guys are focusing on everything else that you have to do to become a medical student, but that you're putting your grades at the top of that list. I think, it's something that they can learn from you, Megan. Unfortunately, you had to go through it the hard way. But that's what this podcast is for us to learn from each other. And a lot of our listeners are going to be, freshmen or sophomores in their undergrad. And so that's an important, reminder for them. And for myself as well, to just not let it slip. It can be very easy to let your grades slip for a semester, and it's very hard to recover from it, So all of you listeners out there, please remember, keep your grades up. This is number one.
Please, because you
Awesome.
may not get the opportunity to redo them.
Yes, exactly. So, I know you talked about, what you could change, but, this is a big experience. You've been a pre-med student, for those 4 years plus, and you've learned a lot, but out of the experience of facing that rejection, what is the biggest thing that you have taken away from that?
I have just, the biggest thing I've taken away from rejection is just to keep trying. You're going to get, one of the things I really love is a statement that I heard recently on a podcast, and it was Dr. Seuss had gone to 23 publishing companies and been rejected from all of them before he finally got his books published. And so it's one of those things that you just have to keep going. Mm-hmm. So yes, I got rejected from 21 schools, but I'm still going in next year and applying and doing it with an open mind and doing it with almost a renewed fire that I want this and they should give it to me, and here are the reasons why.
Yeah. I think that's, with any like big figure that I can think of, like Walt Disney, he had a lot of rejection before he built Disney, the empire that it is today. And, Steve Jobs, he didn't just make a computer and then sell it and all of a sudden he's a billionaire. Like, he had to work to that. He had to face a lot of rejection. So there's so many stories out there of really successful people that had to face rejection. So it's natural that we would have to face that rejection too. So listeners, again, like, stay positive if something bad happens. And that's not just with getting rejected into med school. That's, hey, I didn't do so well on a exam, or, hey, this doctor didn't want to take me on as a shadowing person. Like, that's just life. Like, things are going to reject you. Like, not everything is just going to be perfect. And so I think it's important to learn, again, like, don't turn that rejection and disappointment into discouragement. Just turn it into fuel to continue to work harder. So I think you're a great example of that, Megan. And we really do appreciate you sharing your story. I know it's not easy to go on a podcast and be like, hey, I got rejected, like that can be tough. So we do appreciate you sharing it with us, because I think there's so much to be learned from it. And, we do wish you the best in making sure that you get in this cycle. We hope everything's going well. But I did want to ask you one more thing before we wrapped up.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there don't know that you're a mom of 2 kids. Is that correct?
Yep. I have a 4-year-old boy I have a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl.
Oh, wow. Those are fun ages.
So
yeah, I know we can talk all the time about, pre-med pressures and, how hard it is to balance everything. And, you're doing it while raising 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
how does that like change your perspective on things? Like, is it a humbling thing? Does it just make it extremely frustrating? Like, what's your outlook on that?
So it definitely, there's times it definitely can be very frustrating. It's very difficult to get my work hours in. It's very difficult to get my class work done because I don't have all the extra time that a lot of pre-med students do. I mean, we're all volunteers. We all do everything, but I work not just to get my hours or to get my information or to get play money. I work to support my family, and that has to come first.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, while I want my pre-med career to come first, and I make sure it stays a priority, my family, especially my kids and what they want to do, is a priority above it. But I've actually worked out a pretty good system, and it started after I had my son. He was just so little, had no clue what was happening. But what I would do is when I would study on my own while he was napping or things like that. And then I would actually repeat it to him to make sure that I was understanding the basis. And of course he could talk back, so it didn't really make a difference. But I was getting better grades that way. I was getting a better understanding of what I was doing. And when a teacher would ask me what this molecule is, I could go into huge detail. And it was actually impressive for me. So all along my classes, I've done that with my children, and now they're a little bit older. And so they do ask questions, and they do talk back, and they do kind of interact with me, and I'm able to give them a little bit of a higher level of knowledge, but it's lowered to where they understand, and then I'm getting the full benefit of what I need.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I mean, your kids will be super smart. That's definitely a plus. They're going to be great at sciences. So just make sure they
know what makes a rainbow.
Yeah, there we go. So I mean, I just want to applaud you. I think that's amazing. I obviously am not a mom, but my mom has worked her entire life, and I see that, and it's kind of rubbed off on me. So I just want to, props to you for, continue to work hard for what you want and supporting your family along the way. I know that cannot be easy at times. So, just keep doing you. I mean, I think that's awesome. And we wish you the best of luck as you apply this next cycle. And we hope to see you in that white coat one day.
Oh, I will definitely be there, even if I'm being buried in it.
Hey, nice. All right. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thanks, Peyton.
Thank you so much for all that great advice, Megan. We really appreciate it. We wish you the best in your journey, and we wish all of you out there learning the very best as you continue on with your pre-med journey. Now, I do have some announcements for the week. Of course, please don't forget to hop on to PreMedStar.com. It's really a great site to connect with each other. I've loved getting to know some of you guys on that site. It's been awesome to talk to all of you. So keep doing that, and make sure you guys are getting on there if you're not already on there. Now, of course, if you would like to be featured on this podcast, just like Megan was today, please send us an email at voice@premedstar.com. Just send us your name, the link to your PreMed Star profile, and the topic that you want to talk about. Easy as that. Very last thing I have for you guys, of course, is please, please, please don't forget to subscribe. We really hope you guys are enjoying this content. I know I have loved being the host of this so far, and I hope that you guys continue to want to listen to us and continue to share this with your friends. So that's all I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for listening in. I really appreciate it, and I hope all of you guys have a great rest of your week. Thanks.
Turn it up. Let's go.